Um, this is one of the times that we try to create throughout the year that we can have a little time to kind of step back from our everyday rhythm and just create a little space just to be together and to be able to reflect on what season we're in and the season we're coming from and the season we're entering. And to be able to spend a little bit of time together with the folks around us in our homes or our families, or perhaps with the folks that we're going to connect with on screen today, because that's our mode just now. But these are important times in the life of our community, just to be able to connect, to reflect, to share, to give thanks, to laugh, and to have some fun. All of these are just really important moments, and they won't happen unless we make some time and some space. So thank you for making the time in this space today. I'm going to ask Trish just to say a little bit more about today, the shape of the day, and some of the themes and the tone for what we're going to step into.
Thanks, Liska. Welcome everybody to our retreat day. And as Liska said, this is kind of a tradition in our community. We have this retreat day right at the beginning of Lent. It's kind of our kickoff to the Lenten season. So as Liska said, it's a nice way to enter Lent, which Lent in the Christian tradition is the 40 days in preparation for Easter. So, and it really is a time that is about being quiet, about being reflective. And we will be hearing stories in the coming 40 days about Jesus as he prepares for his death and the resurrection. And in Lent, there is this real invitation for us to really turn away from the things that keep us from God, to turn away from all the things that separate us from seeing God in our life and in the world and from each other. And so that's much of what we reflect on, is this sense of turning away from what keeps us from God and really turning to what gives us life. And so our theme today is rooted in joy, which might seem a little bit like a funny theme for Lent, because Lent is not really known to be a very joyful time. But it is reflective of this sense of turning, right? To really invite us to turn to what gives us life. And we have been talking a lot in our community this year with our theme. Our theme for the year is choosing to live in joy, about really choosing joy and how important that is as we continue to live with a pandemic. The limitations are hard, so we actually have to really intentionally choose joy. So today we're going to reflect a little bit more deeply on joy and how important it is that we continue to turn to what gives us life and our roots in joy. And we have a guest speaker today who's going to help us to reflect on that, Joe Egan. I wonder if someone can spotlight Joe Egan.
Fish.
Just 1 second, Courtney. I'm gonna, there's Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
And Hi, Joe Egan. Hi, Joe Egan.
Okay, and so Joe, Liska's going to introduce Joe in just a second, but Joe's going to help us reflect, and we are going to be together for about an hour. Joe's going to be leading us and sharing his insight and wisdom on our theme. And so that will take us to about 11:15, okay? And then we're going to have some time to work on a little activity in our homes. And then after lunch, we will gather back at 1 o'clock. Those of you living in our homes, or if you are connected to a home, you will have a chance to share the work that you did on your activity with another home. You'll be paired up. So that's at 1 o'clock, and your home will help you with your link. For those of you who don't live in our homes, you come back to this link and we'll have a little group together on this link, okay? And then at 1:30, we'll all come back together for prayer and meditation time. Okay, so that'll be our day together. And I am going to turn it over, I think, to Clara as we get started. I think Bonnie is going to lead us to get us going in a song, in a dance. Here we are. Welcome, Bonnie.
I mute myself there. Welcome. So yes, we really must dance together. So I know that some of you, especially, I think Brandon, you're there. We're going to be dancing, and you can see on the screen Tumba. Tumba is a dance that is it's a great way to wake up. It's a great way to just get your body started so that we can listen to Joe, but listen to each other for the whole entire day. So the movements are very, very simple. The first thing we're going to do is we're coming off of a weekend, but we've been coming through like a tough time with having to stay separated and all that. So you're going to take your hands, start out up high, and you're just going to get rid of all the junk, all the stuff bugging you, all the whatever. For 8 counts, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that you have gotten rid of all the things that are bugging you, you've made space for yourself to take in fresh things, things that bring joy, remembering the things that bring joy. And we're going to just gather in for 8 counts, starting at the bottom and coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And once you're full of all that energy, the only thing left to do is to dance. So we're just going to go in a circle wherever you are, or you can just turn around, or you can just, if you're seated and you're doing this sitting down, you can just make your arms go all around. And that just repeats. It's a lot of fun. We used to have so much fun, even when we had visitors, even parents. You'd see a dad who'd be sitting back here, standing, watching the dancers going, what's all this stuff all about? But by the time one of those fun dances came on, the dads would be out dancing. So I dare anybody to sit still for this one. Okay, Clara, let's go.
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank
Good job,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for that wonderful, wonderful warm up. I think we are ready to made some space to receive some goodness. And Joe Egan has kindly and generously said yes to sharing some of his reflections with us this morning. Now, there's a lot we could say about Joe and his time in L'Arche. If I'm not mistaken, Joe has been in L'Arche about as long as I have been on this earth, and give or take a year or two. So my whole life has known a world with Joe Egan in L'Arche. And Joe was community leader at Daybreak for many years, even before I came to Daybreak. So I didn't know Joe as community leader, but when I came to Daybreak, Joe was helping to manage a project to build the beautiful building that Clara and Bonnie are in right now at the Dayspring. And we know that lots of wonderful life and prayer and celebration takes place in our Dayspring. And Joe was one of the people who helped carry that from dream into reality. Joe has also been somebody who has carried many, many roles in L'Arche. For many years, he helped to carry the international leadership of L'Arche all around the world. And Joe traveled to many communities in many different countries, and he supported communities and listened to them, and he helped new communities get born, new communities that had a desire to start L'Arche, to be born. He has listened to so many people over the years who have had a desire to be part of community and to stay in community and to put down roots in community. Joe also has a great love for how do we share what we have lived in L'Arche with people beyond our community, and how do we make sure that L'Arche is a gift that can be carried forward into future generations. It takes a lot of generosity and a lot of care and a lot of vision to want to make sure that the gift that we're receiving now, that we have received, is something that others can also receive. And Joe has done that through leadership development in L'Arche, Canada, and the project that has helped us to reflect on our core values in L'Arche. So many ways, Joe, that you have given your gifts over so long to all of us in L'Arche. We are so grateful that you're with us today, and we know you're going to tell us some more stories to help us get a sense of some of the things that have shaped you in L'Arche. So, Joe, I invite you to take it away.
Hey, thanks, Liska. I always say with those lengthy introductions, I wish my mother could hear all that because she might have believed it.
She can hear. She's listening, Joe.
She's listening. Well, I hope she is. Yeah. So I'm happy to be with you this morning for this first part of your retreat day.
Oh, that's great.
Which has been planned very well by your Spiritual Life Committee. And I want to especially thank you, Clara, for your help today behind the scenes in this past week. Tomorrow happens to be my L'Arche anniversary. And please believe me, when I arrived, I knew absolutely nothing at all, which I proved by showing up with my three-piece suit and a tie on at the office at the big house. And after convincing Catherine, the secretary, that I wasn't a salesperson, she kindly suggested I might want to change my clothes before lunch. So I just want to say that I started out on day one, many, many years ago, much, much more rooted in humility than in joy. But preparing our time together has given me the opportunity of rereading my history through this particular lens of joy. And so I thank you for that gift that I lived this week. Joy seems to be such a simple three-letter word, but its roots go deep into our personal history and our community history. And this is true in our daily lives as we experience them as simply being human through our friendships and community life and family life. And I think for all of us, on any particular day, things could be going well, we can feeling good or happy, but our emotional state can change quite quickly to complaining or sadness or even anger, even with just a few poorly chosen words or a funny look from someone. I always remember this quote from Henry Nouwen, He said, community is the place where the one person who can drive you crazy always lives. And I think there's some truth to that. So these normal daily ups and downs often depend on circumstances and factors beyond our control. And this has certainly been true during the first 2 very difficult years of extra stress, and I would say even deep fatigue for many people due to the pandemic. So I'd like to begin just as an old retired L'Arche person. I'd like to begin by just thanking each and every one of you that are here today and those who couldn't be with us today for how you have been living L'Arche today, and especially over those past 2 years, the attention, the care, the presence, the compassion, the tenderness, the commitment you've lived daily in community at Daybreak, I believe is an extraordinary witness to love. And this witness is real. It's been tested. It's true. It has an integrity and a power to change people and to be a sign of hope for others, even when we don't do it well all the time. But given all these obvious challenges we face, is living in joy really possible? This is an important question for all of us, whether in L'Arche for many years, like myself and some of you, John Bloss, and those of you who've been at Daybreak for less than a year. For the quality and the courage of our questions has a big impact on our lives, as there's a surprising power in the right question at the right time. So for today, indeed, our question is, how can we root our community life in joy? And I truly believe we all have opportunities every day to choose joy, though they often might be just little mini ones that come to us as a surprising little gift. And so again, difficult things can and do happen at Daybreak, but they can become transformational when tender joy is chosen. And nobody, and I mean nobody, can ever take away our freedom to choose how we want to respond to whatever happens to us and around us. And so our challenge is often to make choices that reflect what we most deeply believe in and love, despite the fears we may have. Over my years in L'Arche, I have come to a deep conviction that one of the key ways of finding joy every day is to be grateful. And our first video clip now that Clara will show us demonstrates what it means to have a grateful day that can lead us to joy.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather, and even of the weather we don't think of all the many nuances of weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather. This day, right now, is unique weather. Maybe a kind that will never exactly in that form come again. The formation of clouds in the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes, look at that. Look at the faces of people whom you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face. A story that you could never fully fathom. Not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. We all go back so far. And in this present moment, on this day, all the people you meet, all that life from generations and from so many places all over the world flows together and meets you here like a life-giving water if you only open your heart and drink. Open your heart to the incredible gifts that civilization gives to us. You flip a switch and there is electric light. You turn a faucet and there is warm water and cold water and drinkable water. It's a gift that millions and millions in the world will never experience. So these are just a few of an enormous number of gifts to which we can open your heart. And so I wish you that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you, that everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you. Just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your presence. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you. And then it will really be a good day.
As the poet Mary Oliver tells us, our main task is to pay attention. This is our one endless and proper work. So it's something about stop taking so much for granted in our day-to-day life. And I would say together in community, we must build a culture of gratitude, because gratitude is fundamental to experiencing joy. I now want to share an example with you of what that means in my life today by sharing with you our Christmas card this year. And as you can see on the Christmas card, the word joyful. And if you want to see a joyful face, look at Mary Egan there with our latest grandson, Zane, who was born on December 24th. And so as you look at the Christmas card at the top left-hand corner, I'd be happy to introduce you to McKenna and Xavier. Lila is in the middle. and then the twins, Finley and our dear Harper at the far end. And these 6 are such a joy because of their simplicity and openness as children. We have so much fun together when we visit one another. And then one of the best parts is after all that fun, they get to go home with their parents. And so I know I can never be grateful enough for the truth that these 6 little ones live close by here in Toronto. But I must say, once in a while, there can be a little tension. I'll give you one quick example. When Xavier was 3 years old, he used to spend 1 day a week with us. And on this one visit, he was playing in the family room with some Legos. And I was sitting in the chair reading the paper, and he invited Nana Mary to come join him. And she said she was busy in the kitchen and couldn't do that right away. And he asked her 2 or 3 times. And finally she said, why don't you ask Papa Joe if he could join you? And so Xavier reluctantly did that, and I happily joined him on the floor. But a few minutes later, he asked Nana again, are you free now? And she said, yes. And so he turned to me and said, Papa Joe, you can go back, sit down again. But you can see clearly in this picture of Nana Mary, the joy that we experience. And Mary has a very, very strong grandmotherly vibe that was well honed during her many years of teaching kindergarten. But I also realized that this current abundance of joy for us has deep roots in the past, in our past at daybreak, in fact, because I first met Mary at Large Daybreak in 1973. It was David Harmon who prevented me from leaving Daybreak in my 2nd year and became my best man when we got married in 1978. Our wedding itself was a very joyful community celebration, which my family still talks about 44 years later. For example, I'll never forget seeing our dear Patsy Ramsey, who on her tiptoes didn't reach 5 feet tall, going over and dragging my very reluctant uncle from Chicago, who was 6'4", out onto the dance floor to dance the Daybreak Shuffle together, in which they both had a lot of fun. And I would finally mention what remains for me the most moving moment of joy in my entire life, which happened 3 years later with the birth of our son, David. It was in that very moment that he was born and all was well. I was overwhelmed with this sense of wonder and joy at the miracle of it all. And I will always, always remember that in that moment, I whispered to myself, there must be a God. There must be a God. And so my Daybreak friends, the second main way we root our lives in joy is through our relationships. These relationships shape us and can teach us everything we need to know if we will let them. And so now we're going to see a slideshow of people in your community, which clearly reveals this truth. And I would ask you to pay attention, particularly to the smiles in the eyes of people, which can teach us a lot about joy. So let's watch this slideshow together.
I've been through the drought of summer, weathered winter snow. Winds of change have bent me, still I've never broke. I've been set down by the river, anchored by the shore. I drink deep of the water, 'cause my strength is from the Lord. So let the rain fall, let the wind blow. The more that comes down, the stronger I grow. I got roots, and I'm standing on the truth. And it's you that I'm holding on to. And deep down in the ground, firmly planted, safe and sound, and I can't be moved. And you, I got roots. I live above the surface, I can't see under the earth. But the fruit that I'll be reaping starts its life beneath the dirt. So I hang on to your promise that there will be a harvest, 'cause you are always faithful. You finish what you started. I got roots, and I'm standing on the truth. And it's you that I'm holding on to. And deep down in the ground, firmly planted, safe and sound, and I can't be moved. And you, I got roots. I got roots. I got roots. Your word is a firm foundation. Every day is a transformation. Standing on the truth of salvation, and I won't be shaken. I got roots, and I'm standing on the truth. And it's you that I'm holding on to. And deep down in the ground, firmly planted, safe and sound, and I can't be moved. And you, I got roots, and I'm standing on the truth. And it's you that I'm holding on to. Oh yeah. And deep down in the ground, firmly planted, safe and sound, and I can't be me, and I can't be you. I got roots.
Here too, it's good to remember that our relationships in L'Arche today have deep, deep roots in the history of L'Arche. And I want to share a map with you now. If Clara, you put that up. This map shows where all 156 communities of L'Arche are located around the world and where new projects are being born. So as L'Arche Daybreak, we're part of a much wider web and network of people all over the world living the same mission and values. And I want to go back for just a moment to the very beginning of L'Arche in Turley, France, through the words and experience of Philippe, one of the first two men welcomed in 1964. He wrote this about that experience. I was taken out of a center where I had been placed by social workers. It had been desolate there. We were always inside, surrounded by four walls. There was nothing to do. We were bored stiff. There was no life. I even cried. When I came to L'Arche, there was no electricity. We used candles for lighting. It was fun. There were no toilets or showers, but I felt like I was exploding with joy. I was so happy to be there. I felt like I was exploding with joy because I was so happy to be there. So despite some very obvious problems, joy was present. Joy was a gift from the very first day of L'Arche. A joy, I would say, that thousands have discovered for nearly 60 years now around the world, that is rooted in a sense of home, belonging, mutuality, presence, and community. A real grace that is given to us as we live, eat, play, pray, and work together, all in mutuality, and when we discover and give our gifts. A joy we know in our hearts that we are enough and no longer have to pretend to be strong and have it together all the time. In short, it's when we discover and truly believe that we are lovable just as we are, all just very human people on a journey together, that we all need to receive help and we all need to give support, that we all have vulnerable hearts and we must stand by each other. And so I'd like us now to listen carefully to this song about standing by each other.
This song says, no matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're gonna need somebody to stand by you. Oh yeah, oh my darling, stand by me. No matter who you are, no matter where you go in life, you gonna need somebody to stand by you. No matter how much money you got, all the friends you got, you gonna need somebody to stand by you.
When the night has come and the land is dark and that moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed one tear. Just as long as your people come and stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Come on, stand by me. Yeah.
Oh, when that sky that we look upon, when she tumble and fall, with you. And alone is the only light we'll see. I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. Not as long, not as long as you, yeah, stand by me. Hey, yeah. Thank you, thank you.
So yes, indeed, we must stand by each other. For at large, our place of belonging is also our place of vulnerability. Our search for home, belonging, and community is revealed and affirmed by the welcome of others. Home and belonging is a reality of the heart and of joy. Our hearts find a home and we know we're in the right place because we're happy and we're growing and we're engaged. We must always give attention to the quality of our home life and our community life together. For joy is often found there and grows and deepens over time when we are faithful to each other and to our common mission. The next way we root our life and joy is through creativity. And here at Daybreak, our community has tons of experience over many years, from the big public galas like the 25th and 50th anniversary celebrations, through what is lived daily at the craft studio or at home. We'd like to share with you now just one wonderful, joyful Daybreak example of creativity, which you might recognize some of the people.
What do you guys do on Monday mornings?
We do the acting group class with Brian and Alyssa.
Little skits.
Yep.
And little situations.
Yep.
We're singing, we're acting.
And we play all kinds of games. We sing songs, and we create stories. We get to just live out people's dreams and little fantasies, or it's really nice on a Monday morning, especially.
I hate Monday morning. And everybody grumpy. I'm sometimes grumpy too, but you know, now you know we're having fun Monday morning.
Princess or Luke Skywalker.
Where have we gone together, you and I, on Monday mornings?
On morning?
Yeah, well, Monday morning when we do the drama, the acting.
I want to be the actor. I want to be Princess Leia.
Princess Leia?
I want to be my girlfriend.
This morning you were Darth Vader. Now you want to be Princess Leia.
Yes.
Well, you just have to look around the room. It kind of engages people. It lets people who maybe are a little more shy take part.
Because we're quite vulnerable up there, being goofy or whatever. But that strength, that vulnerability strengthens our spirits.
Good happy mood now. Happy mood. And I love it.
I think it has consequences of in our life that transforms us.
He's the big boss. He's also our police chief. We call 911 and Mike is there like that.
Do you think that after the Monday morning session that we learn things we can use the rest of the week?
What do you think? We can use it?
Yeah.
How? How we can use it? Oh, your
My
head?
head, yeah.
Your head?
Yeah.
Wow.
Black jacket, hair.
Okay, let's see some of your characters. Let's see Spider-Man.
I'm gonna be that President.
Wait, but show us Spider-Man. Show us Spider-Man. And Superman? And Clark Kent?
America.
Who's the funniest? Who's funny?
Me.
It's funny how excited Marco gets in certain situations. He likes it when we talk about his Nona. You like it when we talk about your Nona?
Who's the best singer?
It just makes us happy to be here.
Tom?
Yeah? What?
It's a pleasure to know you.
Cause you're special frontier, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, brother. That's all. Enough.
Enough.
Close.
Well, I think we could all watch that about once a day and have a better day. I love Jenna. She doesn't have any trouble saying she's the best of that whole gang. Next, I'd like to look closely at the importance of celebration, which is obviously connected to creativity. In L'Arche, we have a great tradition of celebrating. And when there's little celebration, the spirit of life and joy certainly diminishes. And so the quality of our community life is directly linked to how well and how often we are celebrating. And these celebrations range greatly from the evening meal around the table to bigger gatherings. And for the last 2 years, all the fun you've had on Zoom with Debbie Dew and all the Daybreak Zoomers. In short, celebration is the living out of joy and renews our spirits and the spirit of our community life. Henry Nouwen wrote this: celebration reveals the deep undercurrent of joy that flows beneath all our ups and downs. And I want just to share one example of a celebration that comes from the General Assembly meeting, Federation meeting in Belfast, where at every meeting at L'Arche, we try to have a celebration. So Claire is going to show us that now. Now I would like to mention and recommend a wonderful book from 2016 to you. It's entitled The Book of Joy by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who died recently, and the Dalai Lama. And in this book, they wrote about a number of ways to root our lives in joy, and I just want to briefly talk about 3 of them. The first way is through humility. And I think humility is connected to service. And in my very first summer at Daybreak, a monk came to visit and gave a talk to us. And I only remember one thing that he said that has guided me well over all these years in L'Arche. He said this: if you want to be happy and joyful, live a life of humble service to others. And of course, at L'Arche, we have lots of opportunities to do just that, most often in little ways in our daily life together. The second way that they mention is through forgiveness. And we know that friendship, family life, and community life are a school of forgiveness. If you like, it's the cement that holds us together. Without forgiveness, our hearts will harden over time, and then joy is very, very difficult to find. With forgiveness, our hearts change over time. Archbishop Tutu and the Dalai Lama expressed it this way: Until we forgive a person that has wronged us, we allow the person to hold power over us. They effectively control our emotions. Forgiveness allows past hurts to recede into the distance where they stop becoming an impediment to joyful life. The last example I'll use from their book is about humor. And here I would like us to remember our dear beloved Bill Van Buren, the first person welcomed at Daybreak. Bill loved to tell stories, and he always thought they were very, very funny. He often traveled with Henry Nouwen when Henry was invited to speak to large groups. Bill would stand by the podium next to Henry to offer moral and practical support. The witness of their friendship often touched their audience. But Bill would occasionally say things out loud at the worst possible times, like, "Oh, Henry, I've heard you say that before." Or Bill would want some airtime to tell a joke for the crowd. This was his favorite joke. How do you keep a turkey in suspense? And then there'd be a long pause. And then finally the answer, "I'll tell you tomorrow." Bill never tired of laughing with much joy at all his tired old jokes. And so good-hearted humor that laughs at ourselves and at life will also help us root our lives in joy. And finally, I'd like us now to turn to the gospel to see what it can teach us about joy. At the Last Supper in John's gospel, Jesus shared from his breaking heart about joy. He said, "These things I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and your joy may be full." He then promises his disciples and us, "You will be sorrowful, but your sorrow will turn into joy." And he goes on to say, "But I will see you again and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy from you." As Henry wrote, the mystery of life is that Jesus came to be with us so that we can be joyful despite all our problems and pain. Earlier, Jesus announced his mission in a very simple, direct way. "I come that you may have life and have it to the full." For Henry, he wrote, "Joy is life," because life means something is changing and moving. The great challenge is to claim this joy that Jesus offers us. He came to give life, and life is joy. So God is always inviting us to joy and whatever is real in our lives, asking us to trust in God's love for us. But perhaps it's precisely because we often doubt that we're worthy of that love that we find it difficult to choose joy. The joy that God offers to us is an inter-spiritual reality, for it's a gift of the Spirit, as St. Paul reminds us. It's a deeper, fuller, richer experience than that which we call happiness, which is most often dependent on external things. In short, the joy of God can always be with us, even in difficult times, because God created us for joy. In the book, The Prophet, Kale Gibran writes this: "When you are sorrowful, look in your heart, and you will see that in truth, you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Joy and sorrow are inseparable." And I'd like us now to look at this picture of the Daybreak Saints that Clara will put up. Because at daybreak, we know this deep truth that joy and sorrow are inseparable. Together at daybreak, we have said a very painful goodbye to so many community members So many, all 42 of them, starting with Frank Sutton in 1979. That's a picture of Frank in the lower right-hand corner, all the way to our beloved David last August. Yet we celebrated with joy the unrepeatable grace of all these lives. For example, we could never forget the common feeling in the church when Joe Child's kayak was carried in and placed before the altar, or even singing a joyful "Happy Trails to You" as the grand finale to Francis Maurice's funeral. There are just so many, many stories of joy to be shared. And always remember that the joy that isn't shared dies young. And I want to end now in a moment with one last video. It's a video of a flash mob featuring one of the most famous pieces of music written by Beethoven. The amazing truth is that he wrote this piece when he was completely deaf. That is, he never actually heard with his own ears what we will now hear soon. And may you enjoy this joyful music. May it inspire us all to claim and choose joy every day and to root our lives in that ode to joy through our gratitude, through our relationships, our home and community life, through creativity, celebration, humility, forgiveness, and humor. For it is the experience of joy that calls us to take the next step forward, even with the challenges and the fears we may face. And so now let's listen together to Beethoven's Ode to Joy. I hope you enjoyed that. And over to you, Liska.
Joe Egan, we cannot thank you enough for the riches of what you have offered this morning. But we would like to sing a little song for you. And I wonder if, okay, you know, this is if we can do Zoom choir and go ahead and unmute so that we can sing Happy Anniversary to Joe Egan. Clara, let's take it away. Everybody unmute Zoom choir.
Go for it.
All right, this is like we're just adapting another famous
and
song.
how many years, Joe? How many Larsh years?
49.
Wow. 49. Tomorrow, 49 years tomorrow, everybody. So let's have a big happy anniversary.
And I'd like to add, it's also Beth Porter's anniversary.
And Beth.
Where's Beth?
All right.
Wow.
Was it the same year?
Nope.
Okay. What year, Beth?
She's muted.
Well, we will also sing to Beth. All right, Clara, take it away. Happy anniversary, Joe and Beth.
Happy anniversary to you. Happy
anniversary, Joe and Beth. Happy anniversary to
Wow. You sound as good as the Larsh Toronto choir.
It's pretty bad.
Clara, will you say a word about what our next step is for our day?
You bet. So we've been given such rich treasures to take back to our where we are at home, and everyone might have either received a download or a package in your home with some copies of our Lenten poster. And given that our Lenten theme is rooted in joy, our Lenten poster this year is an image of roots, and we want to take time to use those printouts, and some of you have received a large copy of this to put up on your walls at home. And I'm gonna just bring it up here so that we can look at it together. So this is our image of roots, and roots are hidden in the ground, and so sometimes we don't see the incredible work that roots are doing to nourish the tree up above the surface. And so during this time of Lent, we are really focused on paying attention to what's happening beneath the surface, those hidden moments of that nurture our joy, that root our joy. And so during this time, we're going to invite you to prepare your Lenten posters by giving them a bit of color and personality and making it personalized to you and your home and where you are. And then over the course of our Lenten season, we're going to invite you to take moments to pause and to pray. And you can cut out little hearts. Some of you have gotten some hearts in a little kit for your home, but those of you who don't have a kit, you can cut out your own little hearts. And we're going to invite you to pray for people who bring you joy, invite you to pray for others who you want to have joy, and invite you to pray for situations in the world that could use some joy. And we know that as we listen to the news and we hear about what's happening in the world, especially to our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, that there are many places in the world that could use some joy. But during this time right now, want to invite you to sit with the question as you prepare your posters. Maybe the conversation between you in your home can be about what brings you joy. What are those little hidden moments that happen every day that nurture that sense of joy? And Joe talked about a few things today. Talked about creativity and celebration and humility and forgiveness and humor and all those little places where joy is nurtured and rooted. So we invite you during this time to talk amongst you, to share, to be creative and personalize your posters, and just take it as a reflective time to sit and sit with the question, what brings you joy?